Let's start with the Fontainebleau Hotel.
Oh my goodness.
Greatest place you've ever stayed?
Yeah, until they kicked us out the night before the game.
I think they set us up.
Hi again, everybody, and welcome to the Let's Rain podcast, revealing conversations with current and former Bearcats. I am your host, Dan Hoard, and our guest on this episode is one of the greatest wide receivers in UC football history. In fact, he made so many incredible catches that he earned the nickname The Wizard. And I am speaking to Dominick Goodman. Does anybody call you The Wizard anymore?
A couple teammates, when we come back and play some golf, they bring it up, but they still call me that time to time. But Goody's the number one I'm being called. So.
Well, if they say it during golf, do they say it after tremendous shots, or do they just say it in general?
Well, it's not too many tremendous shots, but if I do get one, they'll hit me with one of these. But that's probably about it.
Yes, the symbol, the wizard hat that people used to do after your great catches. I'm trying to remember who came up with that. Do you even know?
Yeah, I do. My buddy, Delbert Ferguson, he was a running back for us, a guy from up north, Ohio, real good running back. It was just one day at practice, I just kept making crazy catches. It was just like a continuous, and we came in the locker room, and Delbert was like, man, you just a wizard, man. You just pull stuff out of your hat. So one day I made another crazy catch at practice, and he just like put it up, and then it just became the symbol.
All right, well, we might do that a few times during the course of the interview. We're having this conversation, at least in part, because in week 2 of the football season, the 2008 Orange Bowl team is going to be celebrated when UC faces Pitt at Nippert Stadium. Beating Pitt was one of the great victories in that 2008 year. It was the first time UC had ever defeated Pitt. And when I think of the 2008 team, and you were such a big part of it, to me, that team changed UC football history, because before you guys went to the Orange Bowl, I think a lot of us thought games like that were never possible for UC. And then it was the Orange Bowl, the Sugar Bowl, later the 4-team playoff. Do the guys from that team feel that way? Do you feel like you changed the course of UC football history?
Of course. We talk about it all the time. Especially I grew up a Bearcat with my dad playing here, and I've been to all the games since I was in diapers. So I pretty much know the history of Cincinnati football, just knowing nobody in the stands. They was giving out tickets to local high school, just trying to get people to come. And it was just crazy when we got there. Coach D'Antonio, the thing that really drove us and really caught my attention was these seats would fill up. All we got to do is win. That's it. So when he said that, it's pretty much we all took it upon ourselves to put in that work and grind it out and just push one another and compete. And I think that was the biggest thing. We had a lot of great talent on that team, and throwing a lot of freshmen out there for our freshman year was kind of big for us, because all that did was build character and made us stronger and tougher. And that was the thing Coach Daniel was fighting for. And once everything started happening after the Rutgers game, that's when we just knew things was going to change.
You mentioned your dad, who was a team MVP in the early 80s. Was it more emotional for him or for you to reach those heights in 2008?
I don't know. I think we was both emotional about it, because it's one of the things, like a father-son duo, father-son thing, like moments. It's like we've been there together, even though I wasn't there when he was playing, but just knowing what the history and what the program been through with coaching changes, not making it to bowl games, always getting blown out, not even being recognized for football, but being a basketball school. And to see it now being recognized possibly a football school, and being in the Big 12, and having these guys like Travis Kelce, Jason Kelce, Gardner, all these guys being NFL Hall of Famers, it's just big, It brings a lot of recognition to the school and to the program. And it's just, I don't know, I'm getting chills just thinking about it, because it's, growing up, it was like Cincinnati Bearcats was like my NFL team, because I didn't know nothing else but UC Bearcats. So it was cool it's just cool to see everything the way it transitioned, so I'm excited.
I introduced you as one of the greatest wide receivers in UC football history, and obviously I knew that. But when I went back and looked at the 2008 season, your statistics surprised me a little bit. I had forgotten how great they were that year. I'm going to look at my notes here. 84 catches, 1,028 yards. The 84 catches was a school record at the time. It's still third best in UC history. And here's the catch. You did it with 3 different starting quarterbacks. Dustin Grutza, Tony Pike, Chaz Anderson, Zach Collaros played a significant role in a game as well. How difficult was it? How challenging was it to put up those kind of numbers when the guy throwing the ball seemingly changed every few weeks?
It's one of the things, just preparing. Just always, my whole routine off season was to get with the quarterbacks and throw every day, running routes every day, to the point where even like freshmen, I have them come and throw me routes. Just so you just never know. You just never know. And luckily I did that. And so it builds that trust, being a quarterback, when you have a person you can trust and rely on, a person that you know can make plays for you. It makes it easy. I'm gonna go to this person every time, and I know when he's gonna get out his break and when he's not. So I think that was the biggest part of with me having those connections with those quarterbacks, and also being a quarterback. I can think like a quarterback.
That's a good point.
So a lot of things, we go against zones. I know what hole of the zone to hit, and they pretty much like, okay, boom. So it was pretty much just repping, just practicing with them all season, during the season, and getting that trust together.
You had 1,000+ yards receiving. So did Marty Gilliard. The next year he was 9th in the Heisman race. This year he's going into the UC Athletics Hall of Fame. When I say the name Marty Gilliard, what immediately comes to mind?
Great guy. Great teammate. That was a guy I had fun with, a guy that was on my side. Just because when you have 2 dynamic receivers, it makes the job easy. He was the guy that could just take him up top, and I was the possession guys, just like during that era with Ocho and T.J. Husmanzada. It was a great fit. It was a great thing, and I think that helped a lot with our offense. We helped each other out, and plus we came in together. So when we came in together, we all had high aspirations. We was roommates for that too. My junior year, 2007 year, and we sat down. We went through the record books, and we put goals and set goals for ourselves to break those records. And people don't know that, but we set those goals. And me being me, I'm not a person that's like, I don't want you to get out. No, I want you to get out. I want you to break it. I want the best for you. I want the best for the school, because it's like I said, I'm living a dream. Not people know it. Like, my dream school was UC. So just with Marty, it was just electrifying, just seeing him play, kick return, making plays all over the field for us. He was a great guy, great teammate, and I'm excited for him being in the Hall of Fame. And it's just, like I said, it's just nice that everybody get their recognition.
You mentioned the Kelsey brothers earlier. Jason was a starting guard on the 2008 team. He ultimately became one of the greatest centers in pro football history. He was kind of a wild man back then. His locker room speeches were legendary. What did you think of your then teammate, Jason Kelsey?
Great. Another great teammate. He energy, a guy, hard worker, dedicated, loved the game, loved the sport, and he was another person that loved to compete and loved to get everybody else up and everybody on the same level. And when you have that type of teammates, it's infectious. Everybody, it's like contagious. Everybody gets the flu, everybody gets it. So it was great. I had a lot of fun, and it was just great being around those guys.
There were so many memorable wins in 2008, overtime at West Virginia, the Pitt game. We're going to talk about the Pitt game, comebacks on the road in the rain at Louisville, at Hawaii before the Orange Bowl game against Virginia Tech. Do you have a favorite?
I'll probably say the Louisville game, because we haven't won the Keg of Nails in so long. I just heard stories about it, and like I said, I grew up a Bearcat, so I still remember when the year of 2004 or 5, I think, when I was getting recruited, they played Louisville, and they got beat 70-something to
70 to 7.
And it was bad. It was bad. So that left like a taste in my mouth, and tasting everybody's a bit of taste in everybody's mouth. So when freshmen came in, that's what everybody talked about. Like, we got to be Louisville. We got to be Louisville. So our senior year when we did it, I mean, it was. We never seen the cake and nails. I ain't know if it was nails in it or not. You know, it's like one of the things you don't even know.
Shake it and find out.
Exactly. So when we rushed and got it, everybody holding like, this thing light. There's no nails in here. So it was a good feeling. It's one of the memorable moments that I felt like that helped us take us to another level.
You had a monster game in that game as well. Rain pouring. Tony Pike went down, Dustin Grutza came in, and you were the constant. Whoever was throwing the ball, you were catching it that game.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those games, is matchups, you know. Coach Kelly, his offense is based off matchups, and he liked to expose the matchups, and that was a game where they like to go a lot of man, especially to the backside on trips. So it was a game where I had the opportunity to make plays, and Coach trusted me to make those plays. And Grutza was a guy that was starting beginning of the year, got hurt, and then he was working his way to get back. And when Pike went down, Grutza stepped in. It was pretty much Grutza been around. I've been with Grutza since I got here, so we already familiar with each other. So I'll say one play that was like, I kind of felt like put the icing on the cake. We had a bongo route that's like a slant out. So it was third and like 5, and it was crucial down. If we don't make this conversion, Louisville got a shot. So they bring a zero pressure, all blitz, and the route is supposed to go. I'm supposed to take it to the 10 yards. This is a 15-yard route.
Okay.
And you got zero pressure, so it's got to be out quick. But we kept it on. So luckily, that's where we go back to just knowing each other and just being with the quarterbacks, understanding. I seen the zero pressure, shorten the route, guy that got open, got some yards, got the first down, and stayed in bounds, and that was it. That was game.
Let's talk about the Pitt game. Biggest crowd at that time in the history of Nippert Stadium. You know, if you win this game, there's a very good chance that you're going to go to a BCS Bowl, as they were known back then. Orange Bowl and Sugar Bowl scouts were in attendance. Pitt was really good. UC had never beaten Pitt before that game, and it all came together in a very memorable night. What stands out to you about that game?
When I probably would have to say when Terrell Bird made a stop. It was a crucial stop. It was 4th and 1. And he broke in and just made a crucial stop, and it just changed the whole game, changed the whole momentum. And I believe we just took it from there and just carried on with the win. But that game was just so exciting in so many ways, because I mean, for the city, I don't think too many people know. Like, I feel like being here in Cincinnati, the football city, and they love their football, especially when you're winning. And for everybody to fill the crowd up and everybody chanting for us, and we know it's for the Orange Bowl. And it goes back to what we said, like back my dad played, UC was nobody here. And to see people here and people throwing oranges on the field, I mean, ain't no greater feeling. I still remember that day. Like, we still talk about it. So
Tony Pike was on fire in that game. You caught one of his 3 touchdown passes, and it gave you the record at that time for most career touchdown catches at UC, considering your dad had played here. You grew up dreaming of being a Bearcat, and then you accomplished that. That had to be an incredible feeling for you.
Yeah, it was a great feeling. Just all that hard work I put in since I was a kid, and my mom being on my side just kept pushing me and motivating me and kept me going and taking me to camps, taking me here, taking me there. And to get to that moment in your life and break a record and go to a BCS game, I mean, it's no greater feeling. It's just like I said, you live in a dream. And still to this day, I feel like I'm still living a dream.
One of the other things I remember about the Pitt game is that the fans stormed the field not once, but twice. They thought the game was over with 4 seconds to go. They rush out onto the field. Everybody has to be called back into the stands. and then they rushed out again. So you got to experience 2 field stormings in the same game.
Yeah. I mean, it was great feeling. I mean, in the moments, it's crazy, because when you just think about it, it's like I said, it's like you just don't understand until it happens. Like, for us, it's like when Coach D'Antonio said, like, as soon as you start winning, people come. And then Kelly comes in and he says, hey, y'all just keep playing ball. I'll take care of everything else. And just see people coming, people lining up for tickets, people out here selling tickets, people asking me everywhere I go, can I get a ticket? It used to be like, oh, no, we could. I don't want a ticket. Like, dang, like, I'm trying to get you to a free game. Oh, but now we winning. Now you want to come? And you seeing those people that doubted us rush the field, and now they still. It's a couple of my buddies, like my barber, he wasn't a Bearcat fan, he was a Michigan fan. And then once I got done playing, it's like, I came in the barber shop, he zipped his hoodie, he was like, I'm a UC Bearcat fan now. So
it's like a college commitment. He did the reveal, huh?
Exactly. So that's why I'm just like, that game, I felt that Pitt game kind of put a stamp in on a lot on UC's history, as far as setting it off to the right direction, and letting people understand and know, like, we just not here just to be a mid-major school. We're not here just to be out here just playing football. Now we here to play in the state of Ohio. We want to compete against Old State. We want to compete against those schools, and that's what we basically the direction we went. You know.
Let's talk about Brian Kelly. When people ask me about him, I typically say he's the most confident person I've ever met. He just gave you the feeling that anything he was involved with was going to be successful. What do you think has made Coach Kelly so successful wherever he's been over the years?
His confidence, and I'll probably say just far as he's a brilliant man when it comes to far as just business aspect, and far as just how to basically just, how can I put it, just he just knows the game of football for us, like, just get it to my guys, get it to my peoples, get it to my dudes, and let them make plays. And when he says, hey, y'all just do what y'all got to do, I'll take care of everything else, he truly mean that. And we did what we had to do, put in the work, and we executed, and he went on, and like I said, he giving pizza out in line to students. He out here in the media letting everybody know about UC, like, y'all need to start paying attention. Y'all need to start coming to games. You need to start thinking about putting this up in the BCS. Or he's doing all the things that need to be done to build a great program, and also to bring recognition to a program that has a lot of talent and a lot of good players. And I just feel like Coach Kelly is just a guy that when he knows what he wants, he gonna go get it. So I have a lot of respect in that aspect for him. Like I said, I have no problems with him. He's a great coach, in my opinion. I learned a lot from him. But at the same time, I know people feel their way about him going to Notre Dame. But
it was a year after you.
Yeah, it was a year after me, so it really wasn't a big deal. But I mean, at the same time, we would love for him to be here, because he did a great job being the coach here. He's doing a great job still to this day. But at the end of the day, I know you see history. So we had a lot of great coaches come through, and it would be nice if we get one coach to just stay and build it, turn it around, and turn into a power team. So
being in a power conference will help, I think, going forward. Having played early in your career for Coach D'Antonio and then for Coach Kelly, it seemed like the perfect transition to me, because Coach D'Antonio brought in the discipline, did a great job recruiting. Then Coach Kelly came in, brought in a better offensive system, and the combination of the two allowed the team to take off. Is that how it felt being inside the room at the time? Yeah,
it felt just like that. We was all nervous because the class ahead of us went through a coaching change. The guys that was with Mentors, they went through a coaching change, so we was all kind of nervous to see how things was going to go and how he was going to because when they bring their guys in, they replace us. Mm-hmm. So that was our biggest fear, but we all just came together and said, look, no matter what happens, just work hard, practice hard, do everything Coach says, and that's it. So when he came in, the first thing he said is like, I'm not trying to replace nobody. Y'all got a great team. You got a great defense. You got great players on the offensive side. All y'all just need is the offensive playbook. And we looked at each other like, yeah, you're right. We just need an offensive playbook. And once we got that going, I mean, it was smooth sailing, a smooth transition. The only thing we kind of wasn't ready for was a hurry up offense. So that bowl week practice going to the International Bowl was like a track meet. And we only had during that time, we only had like six, 7 receivers during that bowl camp, and we all had to go. Everybody had to go. So we all just tired, huffing and puffing, people cramping, and this isn't during the winter time. So we just like, we got to get ourselves in shape for it. So after that bowl game, once we got into shape and all that stuff, it just was just pretty much easy, and we kind of knew at that moment that we was going to do some things.
Am I correct in remembering that you were the MVP of the International Bowl?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, so your first game under Coach Kelly, you kind of knew this is going to work well for me, right?
Yeah, it did. The funny part about it, I don't tell too many people this story, but I remember that day at camp, during the International Bowl, getting practice and stuff, there was a quarterback coach at the time. He was our receiver coach didn't come in back yet from the Central Michigan Bowl. When Central Michigan had a bowl game, they was preparing for him. So a couple of the coaches came. And the quarterback coach came. He was coaching receivers, and we was out there running routes, doing things, practice. He looked at me and told me, he's like, "You too slow. You're not gonna make it. You're not gonna play for us. You're not gonna be a good receiver for us. So you might as well just get ready to get replaced." So I was like, "Oh snap, for real?" So I talked to a couple of my receivers. They was like, "Goody, like they don't know, but this is what we was talking about. They don't know." So I practiced well, caught everything, did everything I needed to do. Game comes, I'm MVP. So next thing I know, Coach Kelly's like,
"You're fast enough?"
So he was just like, you just a ball player. So they figured out the way to get me involved. So after that, that's when pretty much it was just smooth sailing from there.
Did that assistant coach ever say, "My bad"?
Yeah, he did. He
Well, I would hope.
He did. He was, but he didn't really say my bad. It was just like, "You played good. You might be here for a little bit." I'm like, yeah, that's what I thought. But you know how that goes.
Let's talk about another bowl game, the final game of your college career, the Orange Bowl loss to Virginia Tech. 16 years later, whatever it's been, what about that game still drives you crazy?
Man, I probably would say it's like a blur. It's like one of them games you want to forget, but you can't forget. It's like one moment I remember I was wide open in the end zone, and Pike threw it up in there, and I'm just looking like, okay, just a routine catch. I must be wide open. Chancellor come out of nowhere, pick. I'm like, what the heck? And that was before half. We scored that touchdown. It's a different ball game. If we score on the 1 yard line, it's still a different ball game. We don't have 3 turnovers. It's a different ball game.
It's actually 4.
Oh my God!
Sorry.
You hurt my heart now. I was trying to keep it at 3 before, but yeah. Just them little things, and being a coach now, understanding them stuff, it's just the little things that can, because the score doesn't match up to how the game went, but it's just the little things that kind of I'm torn by, because I know if we would have won that game, now we're talking about a whole different season next year for them, for the 2009 class. Instead of just they over here saying we don't know about putting them in the national championship game until putting them in the national championship game. It's just them differences about just growing a program, and that's where I felt. As our class, we felt we kind of failed that next class off of that, but it's one of them things you it was exciting to be there. You live and you learn, and you just take it, just roll with the punches, you know.
Hard to say you failed. 11 wins, which was a school record at the time, first bowl of that magnitude. It was an unbelievable year. That hotel was really nice in Miami, too.
Yeah, Fontainebleau, yeah. That whole, I think that was the problem. I think they set us up, put us in the Fontainebleau, gave us also P. Diddy had his own little
New Year's Eve party.
And they moved us out.
Yeah, they had to get you out of that hotel that night.
Yeah, they put us around all the distractions, but you know, you can't make an excuse. It was a great bowl, a great memory, a great chance to be around a bunch of great guys, great talent, and playing a great game.
So the 2008 Orange Bowl reunion is September 7th when Cincinnati takes on Pitt. It's not the only celebration that you are going to be involved in this year with a great team that you were part of. This is the 20th anniversary of the 2004 undefeated Colerain State Championship team, 15-0. Average score 46.3 points for Colerain per game that year, and they allowed 6.5. You won the state championship game 50-10. That's still the most lopsided state championship win ever. Was that the best high school football team in Ohio history?
Yeah, best team in the nation. I mean, I don't think people understand how many D1 kids was on that team. It was about 16, 17 D1s. And that's hard to find at any school. And to top it off, what people don't understand, we were so tight and well knit. We all grew up together. We grew up together playing with each other, playing against each other, and we hung out with each other, spent the night, with parents. It was just a well tight-knit family. It wasn't a community, it was a family. And I think when you have a team like that magnitude like we had at UC, can't no one touch you. And I think it's proof of where our scores and our stats that we arguably was the best team in the country. But, you know, during that time, we didn't have the social media. We didn't have they was airing high school games. You had to go there and see it to believe it. And I think if it was caught in this era with all the cameras and all the social media, I think people would put us as number one team in the country.
Kerry Combs was your head coach, still going strong as UC's cornerbacks coach and special teams coordinator. Does it do your heart good to see him still playing such a prominent role at the University of Cincinnati?
Yeah, that's my coach. That's my guy, you know. One of the greatest coaches I've ever been around, probably one of the greatest coaches in Ohio history. He's the reason he's the reason for that state champion. He's the reason why Colerain what it was back during that time. I remember she's invited to his house, spend the night, kick it with him, talk football. He taught us a lot. He taught us a lot of lessons that carry on still to this life. I mean, still carry on to this day. I still do the routines we was doing in high school with lifting. I would lift Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, off Wednesdays. I still try to stay away from drinking pop, just drinking juice, just being disciplined. He just taught us so much that to this day, like my teammates, we still get caught up in a lot of his speeches he had. Like the famous thing he always say, like smelling that popcorn in the air and hearing the clickety clacks coming down the stairs. You know it's time to play. It's that great feeling. He was a great motivator. I can go on about that guy. I mean, he's a great man, and seeing him doing, what he's dreamed of doing is great. It's great for the community. It's great for us, and it's nice. I have joy in saying that was my coach. He coached me in high school, and he did a great job. And he just didn't do a great. I mean, he also mentored and had a lot of great coaches on his side, with Coach Bowden, Coach Roden, two great coaches right now in high school football. They all came under Coach Combs.
You were the quarterback on that team, and not the only great player that wound up at UC. Terrell Bird, tremendous defensive lineman, Andre Revels, linebacker, and others. And the Colerain connection has continued. Ivan Pace, a couple of years ago, now doing great for the Vikings. Dante Corleone has been spectacular at UC. Hopefully he'll be playing very early this season. What does that mean to you, to see that tradition continue year after year?
It goes up, like I said. I mean, we set the tone. We came in, UC wasn't recruiting nobody from Colerain like that. The only person they really recruited was Doug Monahan and Dwayne Ballard, and that's way back in the day. But UC wasn't even thinking about Colerain. And then when we got there, it was kind of put on us like, hey, we got shown why you should recruit from Colerain, because there's a lot of great talent in Colerain. And we did what we had to do. We played hard. We showed our discipline. We balled out, basically, and they started recruiting more kids from Colerain. More came, and then when you have that, and you have those kids that I come back to Colerain and be like, oh, coach, I'm like, Goody, like, I remember seeing you on the TV. You become a mentor and a role model for those guys, and those guys is like, you know what, I want to go to UC. So now those guys go to UC and carry on the torch. So I'm always excited, and I love it, man. I don't know. I just get goosebumps every time I think about the way the program is going, and I'm excited for those guys like Coleon, Pace, Phillips, and those guys. It just brings a lot of joy to my heart seeing those guys go out there and play.
The interesting twist to all of this is that you almost didn't come to UC. You were committed to play basketball at Findlay. What changed? Why did you wind up going to UC and playing football instead?
It was, I think Coach D'Antonio kind of forced me.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate that.
Because they actually gave me an offer. We was in the middle of our season. We played Middletown. And during that time, I wasn't really thinking about football. I was telling all football recruits, like, I'm playing basketball in college. So a lot of them just backed away and left me alone. But after the state game, I get a call. Coach Antonio's like, Dominick, I offered you. What's going on? I said, I signed a letter of intent at Findlay. Like, I'm playing basketball. He's like, no, you're not. I was like, yes, I am. Like, we going back and forth for a little minute, and he was like, no, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to talk to Coach Cone. I'm going to talk to Findlay coach, and we're going to get you out of there. I'm like, you can get me out of a contract like that? Like, just, you coming to UC or not? But yeah, just don't say nothing. Just take a visit. So I took a visit, and, they treated me real well, treated me good, and it goes back to my pops. Just seeing my pops on campus and seeing a smile on his face, and seeing my mom, my pops just reminiscing, talking about the days of being on campus and how much it evolved. And then seeing my pop, they kind of did a real good job bringing back old like trainers like Bill Walker, bringing in like guys my dad was around involved with. Kind of put the icing on campus, like, you know what? Okay, I'm in. So it kind of worked out, and the rest is history.
Findlay's loss was UC's gain, no question.
And the crazy part about it is Findlay ended up winning a national championship my senior year. So, and that's the funny part about it. Either way it goes, I would have wanted something,
How about that? So after your great career at UC, you went on to have a highly successful career in arena football, playing for the Cleveland Gladiators. I've always wondered, is that a love of the game thing, or can you make a decent buck playing arena football?
You could, in the AFL where I play, you can make a decent buck. You make enough where you're good, you're cool. But also too, you have opportunities as well. We had guys that go off the NFL, guys that go play the CFL, because we're just basically right there.
Right.
We basically what the XFL was, right there in the mix. And it was a lot of love of the game, but also too, we was treated well, treated good, So it was fun. I got a lot of stories with that, but I had a lot of fun, good times. Played against a lot of great players, like Dennis Dixon came, played at Oregon. There's a lot of guys that was great players, college players that played, and it was a great league,
And you have a whole other city that came to love you. I mean, first it was UC, and then you were very popular in Cleveland.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun in Cleveland. Just being having like billboards and being on TV, commercials, sponsors, and all that, having all that stuff. It was just a lot of fun. Like I said, I was living a dream. And that's the beautiful thing about, I tell my kids, like, coach, like, whatever you're passionate about, do it. Do it to a full extent, because when you're passionate about something, man, you'll go and do anything for it. That's where the discipline comes in. Like, I just love the game of football so much, and it brought me overseas. I also played in Germany, played in China, played in Hawaii. I mean, we had an arena game in Hawaii, so it was just like I'm traveling, and I don't got to pay for none of it, you know? So it's like my passion
The best kind of travel.
You know? So it's just like, it's just that passion of football, the love of the game, man. I'm just so happy and just still living a dream that it took me to where I'm at today in the coaching.
The NFL has started playing games in Germany. From your experience in the German Football League, did you see the interest in American football there?
Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't understand. They playing football overseas, and there's a lot of great talent out there as well. As much they got different rules. They play flag football till they're 18 years old, and once they turn 18, they play contact football. And going out there, it's just they treat it just like how they treat soccer. So they got club teams. They have club teams, and they also have women's teams. So they got women football teams as well, and they're part of the club teams. And it's they have world championships. They have it all. Like, so you would never think it. So when I came back talking about, Japan's like one of the best teams in the world, and they was like, what, Japan plays football? I'm like, everybody plays football. So football is growing, and when people seen that when Japan beat USA in the 2020U, everybody was all surprised. I'm like, nah.
You knew.
They evolving out there, just like basketball. They evolving. So it's a lot of fun, and this guy's still playing out there to this day that I talk to. So
what keeps you busy now?
Football, coaching football, running my flag football organization, youth flag football organization team, Goodyear Elite. And I've been doing that for about 6-7 years. Another little father-son thing. My dad still he coaches the young kids. He loves to coach. That's his thing. Coaching actually at Tyler One, coaching basketball, track, and football. Offensive coordinator there at Tyler Wanda. And just take care of my son, and that's about it. Just like I said, I'm just living life, just enjoying it.
Let's wrap this up by talking about the reunion coming before that game, or at that game against Pittsburgh in week 2. Are there guys that you haven't seen since 2008 that you are looking forward to catching up with?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen linebacker Corey Smith. I haven't heard or seen from him in a long time. 2008, well, Mike Mickens, another guy, but he coaches at Notre Dame. Another guy I would like to see. It's been so long, man. Delbert Ferguson, another guy I would like to see. All the receivers, Marty and them, we still talk to this day. So I talk to them and see them all the time. Especially, Grootza and them, but I see a lot of them guys at the games, tailgating. So I don't miss a game. I still go to all the games, and we all still keep in contact and see each other that way, especially with homecoming. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I would like to see those guys, but we'll see.
Well, it has been great catching up with the Wizard. Good to know that you're still involved in coaching football, because you had a tremendous football IQ. I think that's one of the things that I'll always remember in watching you play. Your football IQ was off the charts.
Oh, I appreciate that. I really do. And I just thank my mom and pops for helping me out with that. And it was a group effort. So thank you. I appreciate it. Because we never know, as players and athletes, you never know what people think about you until you stop playing, until you're gone. So that means a lot, especially coming from you. So thank you.
All right. Appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Hi again, everybody, and welcome to the Let's Rain podcast, where we really get to know Bearcat coaches, players, and administrators. I'm your host, Dan Hoard. My guest on this episode is one of the greatest quarterbacks in UC Bearcat history, whose framed number 16 Carolina Panthers jersey hangs on my family room wall. I am speaking of Tony Pike. What is the more coveted collector's item, the Carolina Panthers jersey or the bootleg Pike for Heisman gear?
Well, I mean, Mo Egger had a lot to do with the Pike for Heisman gear originally, so that's coveted because he destroyed all the evidence. But probably the jersey. And I know I think it hangs in your dining room. Family room.
Yeah.
Connected,
right off the dining room.
Connected to the dining room. More the jersey because there's just not many of them out there, to be quite honest.
And I'm one of the few people that knows you were number 16 in the NFL as opposed to 15.
That is correct. I wanted 15, but when you're drafted in the 6th round, they pretty much say, here's the closest thing to what you want, and you're going to take it.
We'll get there eventually. We are celebrating the 2008 Orange Bowl team this year. The team is going to be honored in week 2 when the Bearcats take on the Pitt Panthers. So that's what I want to start with here. Let's turn the clock back. It's training camp in 2008. You're 5th on the totem pole at the beginning of camp. Dustin Grutza was back. You've got some highly touted recruits in Chaz Anderson and Zach Collaros. Demetrius Jones had transferred in from Notre Dame. He eventually changed positions.
There was a time that Ben Malk thought he was going to get granted another year. There was a lot. I remember, if you look into today's football, I'm probably not on the team because nowadays it's, if I'm 5th on the depth chart as a junior, I'm just going to go somewhere else and try to play somewhere. Yeah. And I vividly remember having a call with my dad at Camp Higher Ground. Like I just, at the time it felt like I'd already been to Higher Ground 5 times. And Higher Ground is great when you're playing. When you're low on the depth chart, it's not fun. You're in the bunkhouse, and it's just, back then the 2-a-days are completely different. And mentally, it was tough. And I called my dad. I just don't know if I can do this again. And he kind of, you're going to stick with it. You made a commitment. Why not? If you're going to stick with it, why not give it everything you got? And that kind of coincided with a meeting with Brian Kelly at the time of, you pretty much have this camp to show us what you can do. And if not, we'll honor your scholarship, but there's really not a spot on the team for you. So that camp at Higher Ground, based on a lot of different variables, had a lot of different things going on.
So when he says this is your last chance to show us what you can do, you're still low on the totem pole. Were you getting regular reps, or did things change as camp evolved?
At the time, he said that he would give me a fair chance to show what I can do. And if it wasn't in the cards, then it's not in the cards. And, for me, that's kind of all I was hoping and wanting anyway, was just, I felt like on scout team I was doing what I needed to do and individual drills and just not getting the opportunity. So when he said that, and I do credit Brian Kelly for that, he was a man of his word. It wasn't like he said, show us what you can do, and then I got 2 team reps. He legitimately gave me reps, and I felt myself as practices went by kind of crawling up the totem pole and position myself behind Dustin.
Crawling's a great word.
It was.
It was Brian's 2nd year. So you mentioned Ben Malk. The previous year, he brings Ben in as a transfer. Ben starts, had a very good year, but they're bringing in a guy to jump over you on the totem pole. What was your relationship like with Brian at that point?
New, unknown really, because when you're that low on the depth chart, the things are moving so fast that you don't really have time to cultivate relationships with everyone on the depth chart. So you're kind of seen as an afterthought. And, I'm sure that going into camp, there were meetings and conversations of where the roster was and, where could they make changes. And that's how it came about of this is kind of what's going to be the offer that's going to be out there. But with that, like I said, it was a fair chance to show what I can do. And, I felt when Brian came in, it was perfect. When I was at Reading, Ken Miner, we had Deshaun Wynn, who went to Florida, had a great NFL career. We were I for him, run it 40 times a game. He left, and we were one of the first schools around to run the spread. So I did it in high school. Here comes Brian Kelly, this offensive genius, running the spread. And to me, I was like, okay, I can do this if I just get the chance to do it. And that's kind of how it all started.
Dustin Grutza started in week 1 against Eastern Kentucky. You got in, threw a touchdown pass to Dominick Goodman in that game. And then in week 2 in the 4th quarter at Oklahoma, Grutza breaks his leg, and the job is yours.
Yeah, obviously unfortunate for Dustin. He's an awesome guy, great quarterback. But yeah, that was my opportunity. I remember that game vividly. Because it felt like at halftime they had to give the horses on the wagon IVs because it felt like they were running. That's Sam Bradford, his team. I mean, that's
Jermaine Gresham.
That's a really good Oklahoma team. And I remember I got in there, and it's obviously the game's out of hand, and the other linebackers screaming out fresh meat, and I think I threw I threw like a 5-yard stick as hard as I could. My blood's boiling, and it went right through the receiver's hands because I threw it at 100 miles an hour and got intercepted. I made a tackle,
there you go.
which I got on the score sheet that way, but yeah, it was a crazy environment to get thrown in there for the first time with, but. Got my first experience and got to enjoy the next. Obviously, quick-lived after that with the next game, but no, it was pretty cool to have your first experience in Oklahoma.
So the next week was the battle for the Victory Bell. This is your first college start. I'd seen you play a little bit and practice some, but we didn't know what to expect. And I'll never forget, I was in Brian Kelly's office the day before the game. We're going to tape the radio pregame show. And I'm going to ask him a question about you, obviously, for the show. And he puts on practice tape of you for me to say, this guy is better than any quarterback you've seen in the last, X number of years. He's showing me all these great throws. And I'm like, why hasn't he, why hasn't he been the star already? Yeah. So you had shown it in glimpses, obviously, at practice.
Yeah. It was, I don't want to say a wake-up call. It was just getting an opportunity. And I've always had great family support that backed me no matter what I was doing. And, you come out of Oklahoma and now all of a sudden you're going into Miami. For me, I had one offer, two really out of high school, Toledo and UC. Miami was a team that recruited me a lot and then just fell off the face of the earth. So for me, one, to get the start is awesome. To start against Miami, the battle for the Victory Bell, I'd grown up a UC fan. I'd come to countless battle for the Victory Bells, and to actually be a part of one as my first start against a team that kind of just fell off the map and recruiting me was pretty cool.
So in that first start, you were 20 for 24, 2 throwaways, 1 drop. So it was almost a perfect game.
Yeah, everything just felt right. Everything went right, from the flow of the offense to obviously surrounded by so many good players. It makes your job easy just to get it to those players as quick as possible. But that was my focus: get the ball out quick, get it to the receiver accurately and with enough time that they can make stuff happen afterwards. And it played out, like I said, in a really good game plan. In a rivalry game that I know means a lot and meant a lot here at the University of Cincinnati, and it came together well.
You're the starter. You've got one great performance under your belt. You go to Akron the next week, and you break your left arm. Did you think, great, my chance has come and gone? Yeah,
because you go to Akron and you're in the tunnel getting an x-ray, and it feels like you're on a wooden board on an x-ray machine from 1902. So the x-rays, it's hard to read the x-ray, but you knew something was broke. And mentally, you're frustrated because you've waited so long, you've put in a ton of work, you've gone through so many physical and mental battles, and then you get your chance, you shine, and just like that, it's taken away. And at the time, next man up was the mentality that Brian Kelly lived with. And so I knew the talent that we had on the roster at quarterback, and it did. At the time, it was hard to take because it felt like I'd already had my moment. Like, all right, Miami's going to be the moment. That's going to be what I talk about, and I'm not going to get that opportunity again.
You got a plate in your arm held in there by 6 screws. Any hesitation about playing with it?
No. As soon as I knew I could play with it, it was, let's go do it. It was Bob Mangine and Angelo Colosimo and the doctors, and they worked so well alongside of Brian Kelly to get a plan in place. And once I knew that I could continue and make it back, that was the most important thing for me. Whenever they could put the cast on, get out there and take some snaps, let's go with it. And it took some trial and error. As you know, with the season going on, it didn't catch on right away, but the more comfortable you get with it, the better things happen.
Is it still there?
Oh, absolutely. No, I mean, you flash forward to 2009, you re-break the arm at South Florida, and it went from 6 screws to 10 screws. So I've still got the plate. I've got the 10 screws. I've asked to like should I take it out? And well, you got 10 holes in your bone now. You might as well just let the screws stay in there. So it's a great built-in excuse for any type of bad golf shot I have or anything now that that I need an excuse for, I just go right to the arm.
In that case, I might have to break my left arm and get a plate and some screws because there are plenty of bad golf shots. When we remember your career, the first game that comes to mind is obviously Pike to Bins. But if we had to pick a second one, I'm going to West Virginia, I think, from 2008. An unbelievable game. You guys blow a 13-point lead with 71 seconds to go, which seemed impossible. But you ultimately win on like the easiest touchdown pass / the hardest touchdown pass you will ever throw, because Kazim Ali was the world's most open receiver in overtime.
We were backed against a corner because we played poorly against Connecticut. And, the thought is win a Big East championship. And at the time, it's like, okay, well, you got to go through West Virginia, who's been a powerhouse. I mean, I'm talking Pat White, Steve Slayton. When I wasn't playing, I loved watching West Virginia play. Pat McAfee is the kicker and the punter, and Morgantown is this raucous, unbelievable environment that if you ever have a chance to go, like it's crazy to watch a game and be in a game in Morgantown, and to go there and know what the track record had been against West Virginia and go into their stadium. Marty set the tone obviously early. To have the lead, to watch it melt away, and how it melted away, it was everything that had to happen. Touchdown, 2-point conversion, onside kick.
Intentional safety.
Yes, intentional safety.
Took an intentional safety.
McAfee makes a bomb, and it's like everyone that had left the stadium is pouring back in, and it's just this unbelievable scene. And defense gets a stop in overtime. They force a field goal, which was unbelievable. I think Connor Barwin had a huge play on that drive.
I think Terrell Byrd sacked Pat White.
Yes,
to
which is hard to do.
Line. Correct.
You don't really sack Pat White and get them for negative plays. So, we went under center, which we rarely ever do, which for me was always a nerve-wracking time to just get the snap. And for some reason, West Virginia bit hard on what I'm sure was a great play fake.
Had to be.
And, it was one of those things. It's like, should I run this in? Should I? And then it's almost like throwing a dart. You're just like, all right, just please catch this. And the emotion after that, because one, we were right back in the race in the Big East, but it felt like this hurdle of one of those elite teams that had been in the Big East to say, okay, we're here now, and we can do this. And I remember just turning in the scenes on the sidelines and the trip home from West Virginia and starting to think, okay, we can do something here.
The game that really put you in a position to go to the Orange Bowl was the Pitt game. You still had to beat Syracuse to win the Big East the next week, but Syracuse was in last place that year. So it's nip at night.
Yeah.
Biggest crowd in the stadium's history to that point. Pitt was really good. You were 26 for 32, 3 touchdown passes. Your passer rating by the NFL system was 138.2. What are your memories of that night against Pitt?
One, the environment. Because, like I said, growing up a diehard UC fan, most games that I came to growing up, I came with my grandpa, and it was walk into the gate, all right, go wherever you want, and meet back here in the fourth quarter. And, to grow up in this city and then to be a part of what that crowd was that night and to really get the first glimpse of nip at night, which now we talk about all the time. Mm-hmm. It's one of the best home field environments in all of college football. I've been a ton of places. But obviously we knew everything that was at stake and knew what that team was on the other sideline. I think we were ranked 19, they were 20, so we're right next to each other in the standings.
And UC had never beaten Pitt.
Yeah, never beat Pitt. So we knew all of that was there and knew the talent they had. I mean, they had a lot of talented guys led by Shady McCoy, who went on to have a really good NFL career. But I remember the touchdown pass to Goody, moving around the pocket a little bit, and Goody being in the back of the end zone. We called Goody the Wizard because the catches he made were just incredible. I know Marty hit a double move down the sideline for a deep touchdown pass. Marty had the unbelievable ability to get open at meaningful times, and I know it was on a little bit of a rollout. And then the last thing I remember is we built a pretty good lead, and you're standing there and watching the lead evaporate
again
rather quickly again. And we had already kind of been there against West Virginia early in the year, and to have to wait as a quarterback, you're trained that you always have a chance, right? No matter how much time is on the clock. That came to fruition the next year in Pitt. But from a quarterback mentality, you're never comfortable with a lead in a game because you know what offenses have the capability of doing. And it was the same way in 2009 when Pitt got the ball back after we hit Pike to Benz. So I remember the fans pouring onto the sidelines, getting ready to storm the field, and I'm watching a pass get completed to LaShawn McCoy, and there's a lot of room in front of him. And as I'm watching on the sideline, they're lateraling, and then it goes back to McCoy, and I thought he had a little bit of a window, and he just kind of froze and passed it back. Brandon Underwood, who I played travel baseball with growing up, ends up picking off the pass to Brandon Underwood, or from McCoy to that Brandon Underwood caught, and just the fans. I'd never really been a part. I mean, I was on the sidelines when we beat Rutgers the year before, Nick Davila, but winning the game, and not just winning because it felt like, oh, you upset someone, but winning to advance to what we knew, okay, play for a BCS game here. We could play for a Big East championship at the University of Cincinnati, and kind of all of that hits at the same time. And like I said, doing that where I had grown up was awesome on the same field.
That play you described where Pittsburgh scrambling and lateraling, there we go.
There it is.
Lateraling the ball around. I will not try to say it again, but you know what I'm talking about. And then Underwood comes up with the ball. I think 4 seconds were still left on the clock.
Yeah.
So the fans storm the field.
Yep.
And the officials are
Get
saying,
them back off.
Wait, it's not over yet. Yeah. That had to be interesting.
Best victory Neil ever. Just go out there, take a knee. But it's just, like I said, the environments at Nippert Stadium are insane. And I feel like that kind of started what it was. I think there was a Halloween type of game mixed in there with South Florida. But you really got to start to get a feel of what Nippert Stadium can be and what it meant for opposing teams coming in. And, that's something that we relied heavily on. It became, when I first got here, I think the first spring game I played in, there was like 800 fans. And it was raining, and I remember because the old press box, all the fans were standing under it. Like you could fit comfortably under the press box how many people were at the spring game. And to go from that to having this as a true home field advantage, where you knew you were going to get false starts or delay of games and build around what the crowd was awesome to be here at the beginning level of it, ultimately to what it became here.
Before the Orange Bowl, you had to beat Syracuse the next week, which you did handily. And then there was a game in between that and the Orange Bowl, a road game at Hawaii, which under normal circumstances would have been awesome.
Yes.
But under these circumstances, it's tough because it's almost a no-win situation. You've clinched the Orange Bowl. If you lose to Hawaii, fans all over the country are going to blast you as not being deserving of a BCS Bowl. And then in that game, you got terribly sick.
Yeah.
Throwing up on the sideline, couldn't finish. What happened?
Food poisoning. And you know me very well. I'm not the most exotic eater out there. So the chicken nuggets had to be bad the day of the game or something, because I'm not trying the local cuisine in Hawaii. So I'm keeping it burger, nuggets.
Yeah.
They didn't have Skyline in the pregame meal. So
no Philly cheesesteak.
No Philly cheesesteak. No Philly cheesesteak. It was crazy leading up, because there was actually some conversation of, do we rest some guys in that game because of the game had already been clinched. We'd already won the Big East. So there was that. The preparation was a little bit different because you're going, and it's not no excuse, but it just didn't feel like a normal week leading up. And to get hit, I remember I felt the weakest I've ever felt. And kudos, Dustin Grutzer comes in on essentially one leg and leads us back to get a win. I remember getting on the flight home and having like 3 IVs hooked up, and it was a long flight. I don't remember anything on the flight home. I just remember sleeping, and thankfully we landed and moved past it. And it was a very unique game that kind of got sandwiched in the middle of all of this excitement around the university.
Yeah, kudos to Dustin. Down by 14 in the fourth quarter, scored 19 straight to win that game. So it's on to the Orange Bowl. Let's start with the Fontainebleau Hotel.
Oh, my goodness.
Greatest place you've ever stayed?
Yeah, until they kicked us out the night before the game.
New Year's Eve parties were going on.
I think it was LeBron and like P. Diddy were having a New Year's Eve bash at the Fontainebleau. But it was you know, you heard going in, it was like, you know, you got to stay focused. You got to, and not saying we were focused, but it's like, it's Miami. It's a hotel that I'll never stay in again.
11 restaurants, 7 pools.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And you're doing activities, and you're also practicing. You got media luncheons, but it was, the Fontainebleau was, you know, for a guy from Reading. Well, this
For a guy from anywhere.
Yeah, this is absolutely insane. And then they kind of ripped it away from us the night before the game. We're like, all right, we got to head to this other hotel because they need the rooms. And man, the other, it was like wood paneling walls. So we went from the Fontainebleau to like these wood paneling 1980 TV on the wall.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, this is different now. But no, it was outside of as the game transpired. What an awesome trip. And you know, it also gave the first indication of not only the home field advantage here, but how well this fan base travels to bowl games and things of that nature. I mean, you look at those Miami and New Orleans, it was a sea of Cincinnati fans both of those years that took over each of those cities.
The game started well.
Great
Opening
start.
drive, right down the field, 6 plays, 72-yard touchdown drive, Tony Pike touchdown pass.
I don't know what else the defense needed. Gave them the lead.
Unfortunately, you didn't score again.
No, we did not score again. It, you know, it's weird, and I've tried to take so much from that game, and I do quarterback lessons now, and I've heard Peyton Manning talk before. You know, there's games where you're just not, you don't have it, and it was terrible for me because it was on the biggest stage that we'd ever been on, but nothing went well. You know, it was the passes were a yard or two off. You find yourself against a very good defense in Virginia Tech and Cam Chancellor back there. You know, 1 or 2 things go wrong, and then you find yourself trying to force maybe a little bit more to get done. And we just, you know, I talk so much about the rhythm, you know, the rhythm that we had found in that Miami game and the rhythm that we found at the Pitt game. We never really got into that as an offense. Nothing ever just felt like it was clicking for us. And credit to Virginia Tech for that, because, you know, that defense, they do that to a lot of teams to get them out of their comfort zone. And offensively, we just didn't have enough of an answer, which is tougher to swallow because the defense played great. You know, the defense was put in a lot of tough situations, and I thought the defense played more than winning football. And it's hard to go from these highs to the low, and then at the low you also feel like, man, if we could have just put something together. Not only are we Orange Bowl participants, we're probably Orange Bowl champions. So that was an extremely tough pill to swallow. Tougher because as a junior you see the players that you're losing and that being kind of the last moment. So you've taken the program to new heights, and the seniors are leaving their mark on the program, but you just wanted more for them in one more game. So a little bit of a bittersweet end to a season that is celebrated, and rightfully so, but not the way that we wanted to go out. But it also did provide, you know, you could go 2 ways from that. You could let that kind of engulf you and consume you, or you could use that as the motivation. And that was Brian Kelly right after the game. You know, to me, remember this feeling and come back next year. And I don't know, I think I threw 4 interceptions in the Orange Bowl, and I think I threw 6 in 2009. So I used it as motivation to figure out what I can do better, and obviously what the offense can do better.
We're going to have the reunion, as I mentioned earlier, of the 2008 team in Week 2 against Pitt. I do think of that team as the team that changed UC football forever, because I remember being in the radio booth before the game, and Jim Kelly's really emotional because this has been his whole life. His dad was affiliated with UC forever. He's been broadcasting the games for a long time, and neither of us ever envisioned the possibility of UC playing in an Orange Bowl or a Sugar Bowl or a Cotton Bowl or the 4-team playoff. Is that how you guys feel about it? Do you feel like we were the team that changed UC football?
And I also give credit to Mark D'Antonio and what he brought, because he laid the base of, okay, we can win the big games. You know, guys like Nick Davila, for me, you know, that I looked up to. And I vividly remember the Brent Selleck touchdown where he's running guys over down the field and beating Rutgers and the fans storming the field. And it was like, this is pretty cool. Like, this is, but at the time it was like, that's a one-off. That's never been consistently who it's been here. And I tell it all the time. my grandpa was the main reason. He was an alumni, and at the time, you had to buy football season tickets if you wanted the basketball tickets. Everyone wanted to go see the basketball when I was growing up, right? Huggins and what those teams were, and it benefited me the most because my love for this university. I'm down here at every game, and I'm running around and I'm sitting wherever I want, and I've had people jokingly say that he's like, your team's ruined it for me. Because we'd take the kids down and I could let them run wherever, and now we're bunched into our seats and we're packed in here. You ruined the environment down here, but the groundwork was laid with Mark D'Antonio. But the belief when Brian Kelly came in of, holy cow, like what we're doing. I mean, we were doing things offensively no one else was doing. We wanted to get 100 plays in every game. We wanted to snap the ball with 25 seconds on the play clock, and from 08, it was like, all right, this is going to be good. 09, you remember we opened up at Rutgers, and Rutgers had no idea what to do with how fast we were. So Brian Kelly, obviously a big role of that, but the Connor Barwins, the Dominick Goodmans, the Mike Mickens, the guys that helped build a foundation and lay the groundwork as a university that's just not, every now and then they can make something happen, but university that can win championships, and a university where you can now come, and we've seen this more than anywhere now, you can come and then go play at the next level and play at a really high level as some of the best in the NFL have come through UC now. So, that was the groundwork. And, it's crazy because it kind of built as things were being built here. We used to walk up to the Edwards Center after practice. That was our meeting hall.
That's right. Because
everything was getting renovated. And as these renovations are happening and all this growth is happening, the team's starting to win more and more. And, there's a lot of pride and a lot of teammates from 2008 that kind of know, okay, this is where things got started. We were able to build on it and have been a contender in college football since.
You win the Big East in 2008. You go to the Orange Bowl. You're back in 2009. Marty Gilliard's back. A lot of great players are back. Cincinnati was not ranked in the top 25 going into 2009.
Yeah.
When did you know this team is as good, maybe better, as last year?
Off season, as soon as we got back to workouts, because, like I said, it was, Brian Kelly always used the term like keys to the car, and what we thought was the offense in 2008, all of a sudden there's these new wrinkles and there's this new speed that we were able to operate at, and you're doing it at practice, and you're watching a lot of good guys on the defensive side of the ball have no idea how to react. They're gassed, and we're like, this is great. And anytime in sports that you can find a chip, you run with it. And not being ranked for us, just won the Big East title. We bring back a lot of key members of the starting lineup, and now we're not ranked. It's crazy. And that was, I think, a lot of as what we just talked about, that Rutgers game to kind of kick things off. It was a Sunday or Monday game. It was a weird time that for a game to be played.
Like a Monday afternoon.
Yeah, like a Labor Day or something. It was Labor Day.
Yeah.
And, we went into Rutgers. They were celebrating their new stadium renovations. Right. And you mentioned it was a slaughter. And I think
a Wildcat quarterback that had an impact.
Yeah. Travis Kelce had a couple plays that game that had an impact. But, man, after that game, I just remember nothing was really ever said, but you could just kind of look around at everyone, and there was a confidence of, okay, we can do something here. And we knew as an offense, there was a game, I think it was Fresno State, that came here. Mm-hmm. And I think the time of possession, we had the ball for like 7 or 8 minutes the whole game. Ryan Matthews, they just ran the ball, they scored, and we still won. And we barely had the ball. And I think offensively it was like, and we can do some really, really cool things. Isaiah Pede and Jacob Ramsey, John Goebel. We had so many weapons, Gaduli, Armand, Marty. You can go up and down the list. I had a complement of weapons, and I knew that my job was just getting the ball to those guys in space. And if I could do that, we were going to have a lot of success, and that's kind of where it started.
The team was rolling along. You're scoring a ton of points. You get to week 6 undefeated at USF. You take a hit, and that plate that we talked about earlier in your left arm shifts.
Yeah.
That sounds excruciating.
Yeah, it shifted through the bone.
Oof.
So, I remember, I think it was coming off a bye, and I'm doing, craziest thing, I'm doing radio interviews nationally because I'm in the Heisman race. Mm-hmm. They're talking about a Heisman, and I'm like, man, I would have never imagined, I did an interview on, I think it was First Take, where I was talking about, my mom making me dinner and doing my laundry. And next thing you know, I'm doing Heisman stuff. And you have all that build up in a game against South Florida, who at the time is a really good football team, perennially ranked. And it was a weird situation because it wasn't anything that I thought egregious that did it. It was just a weird hit and then a weird fall, and it just didn't feel normal, and it didn't look normal. And again, you go in and get the X-ray, and where the plate was had shifted a little bit, and it snapped and re-broke where the bone was. And I just remember, at the time, like, this is it. Like, one time coming back is enough. 2 times, how am I going to do this? Now we're already further into the season than when I was a junior and broken, and I knew, mentally what it takes to get back and the pain you play through. And now it's double, and you're already 6 games, like, you're already deeper into the season. So how can you come back from this? It's, it's a worse injury, and now it's 10 screws and a longer plate and so much. So you fight that mental battle. And on the sideline, you're also trying to be the teammate, right? That it was the weirdest second half ever, because in my mind, I'm just mentally thinking, is my career over? And then you're also seeing Zach Caleras run down the field and score a touchdown, and then you're back to the teammate and supporting, and because that they need that as well. So it was just a weird second half against South Florida, and then you fight those emotional battles again and mental battles, and then it's right back to work. Okay, what can we do? How can we do it? How can we find a way to get back out there? And you just put a bigger cast on it. And I was grateful for the training staff here and the plan that was in place to go from thinking my career was done to making it back and playing in just a couple weeks.
Yeah, I just missed a few games, killed the Heisman hopes,
Killed it.
unfortunately. Zach Caleras played great, so the team continued to win. When you first came back, you started in an interesting role.
Yes.
You were like a baseball closer.
It's the best thing ever.
Zach would drive the team into the red zone. Coach Kelly would say, all right, Tony, come in and
Yep.
throw a touchdown pass, which you did. Did you feel any guilt at all?
Absolutely. Absolutely. As I'm running, I'm like, my bad, man. Like, I'm telling Zach, sorry, as I'm running on. But it was one of those, it was like, we felt like it wasn't quite there yet from a healing process to protect it fully, but we also felt like in the red zone, smaller windows, me being taller, there was an opportunity to run a handful of plays where I knew that I was going to get the ball out, not take a hit, and that we could capitalize on what West Virginia wanted to do. I don't remember how many passes I threw. I knew a couple of them went for touchdowns. But I felt terrible for Zach, but I also felt great because, again, you're thinking you're done, and now you're coming back here in front of Nippert Stadium, in front of the fans, and you're playing in this role where it's like, okay, I can get back. I can still impact this.
December 5th of this year will be the 15th anniversary of Pike to Ben's, which is crazy. It's hard for me to believe. You're down 31-10 late in the second quarter.
Yeah.
There had been rumors before the game that Brian Kelly was going to seriously consider leaving for Notre Dame. Was that a factor? Was that one of the reasons why you guys fell behind?
No, I think it was one of those things that Pitt was a really good team, and they had a really good game plan. I mean, I think Deion Lewis, it felt like he carried the ball 90 times that game.
47.
I mean, they were eating up clock, they were eating up time, yards, and when that happens, when you're an offense like we are, or we were, you feel like maybe you press a little bit to try to make more happen. Because you're seeing the time, it's like, oh, how many more possessions are we going to get? And at 31-10, there was still a belief, but it needed a jump start. And obviously, when Pitt decided to kick to Marty Gilliard, that was all the jump start we needed, because we knew at that point, like, okay, it's 14 points with our offense. That's 2 minutes. We can get that done. Shore up some things on defense when you get into the locker room, and that was kind of the belief. It was never a rah-rah on the sideline type of thing. It was just okay, like, now we're back where we need to be. We found our footing a little bit. We couldn't have played worse in the first half, and here we are right in this game. And Brian Kelly delivered a heartfelt halftime speech to me that I was just very simply going to apologize to everyone on the roster for ruining the perfect season.
He really said that.
That's all he said. That was it. There was no other.
You're going to have to apologize to your teammates.
You're going to apologize to this
for
team
ruining a perfect season.
For ruining a perfect season after the game. Like, there was nothing like on the board, like, what are we thinking in cover 2 here? There was none of that. It was just, you're going to apologize to all these guys. And then, that was it. Finally got some things going in the second half, and it was fun.
He also had Zach warm up.
Oh, yeah.
In the second quarter. Did you see that out of the corner of your eye?
Never until I rewatched the game back did I know that it was never kind of talked about on the sideline, and never did I know that was close to happening until I rewatched it. And I think, he came in on a couple plays near the goal line to run some sets that we had, but it's so much about momentum in sports, and when you finally just get a couple completions, or you finally have a couple things go your way, it's all of a sudden you didn't feel as cold as it was in Pittsburgh that day. It was cold in the first half. It wasn't cold in the second half. You wanted to get the ball back. The defense starts to feed off that. Let's just get them the ball back as quick as possible, and then you start to see some good things happen.
The play that we all know as Pike to Bins was far cowboy spread 52 chair.
Man.
So it's been 15 years. I think we can, share some secrets here. What does each of those things mean? Far cowboy spread 52 chair.
Far cowboy spread was just our formation. So we were putting Armand to the boundary by himself. Everyone else is spread to the field. 52 is the protection. So to me, that means your right guard and right tackle are man, and then your center, left guard, left tackle have a zone blocking system, which was great for Linkenbach on that play at left tackle, because I think it was Romeus jumped off sides and he was still able to get a hand on him just enough. Chair was just a concept for us that was essentially meant to read the 3 receiver side. And Marty had been so good so much of that game that they went and rolled their strong safety down to the field. And the boundary, the free safety, was cheating way to the middle of the field. So for me, now I've got Armand on the backside. I've got press coverage, which is dumb in the first place to press Armand Benz, because I knew he was going to win off the line. Like I'd watch him enough at practice. He's very hard to press because he's physical, he's strong. So I knew he wasn't going to get jammed up at the line. So if you look back at the play, I signaled to Armand.
What's the signal?
Just an open hand.
So you just
open your open hand, telling him that's a go route, because he got the press coverage. So then, in my mind, I know that they know what Marty's done, and I know that their safety is being told, don't let Marty beat you down the middle. So my only job then is to get the snap and hold that safety left to give Armand a big enough window to get back. So at the snap, my eyes go immediately left, and all that's doing is just pulling that safety for a couple yards. And as soon as that safety took one step, reset back to Armand. And again, I didn't need to guess if Armand, because I knew he was going to get on top of his guy. I knew it wasn't going to be a back shoulder. I knew I wasn't going to look, and he had fallen down. And you see him on top of his guy, and then my job is just put it out there for Armand to go get. And he went and got it. He separated his shoulder as he was catching it, which is amazing in itself. And I always say that, then you see the flag and you're like, what is it? A formation? Is it holding? Then you see it's offside, and then you lose your mind again, and then you got to reconvene, because it's not like the field goal in conditions like that. It's not like it's guaranteed.
Yeah, Pitt had missed the PAT to give you a chance.
So now you got to wait for that, and then you breathe another sigh of relief, and then it's like, there's still time on the clock. And as an offense, you go back to the same thing as the year before. That's a lot of time for them to still make something happen. And defense was fantastic. Pitt never got a drive going on that final possession. And again, having the opportunity to go out there and take a knee at the end of the game, and knowing the UC fans in that top corner. I have friends that left the game.
That was 31-10.
That left the game and went to bars around Pittsburgh. They've told me, my bad. I'm like, it's fine. Yeah, it's crazy, because you have the opportunity to go back out and take a knee, and you're taking a knee, and then you're hit with just another wave of emotion of, holy cow, we've done this again. We're celebrating in Pittsburgh. We're going to as a back-to-back Big East champion. That Big East conference was good, top to bottom. There's ranked teams up and down that Big East, so It's a good football conference. We've been at the top of it now for 2 years. We're going to go play in another big-time bowl game. And for a brief moment, we're watching Texas, Nebraska. Colt McCoy throws the ball out of bounds. He gets pressured by Ndamukong Suh. The clock runs out. We're playing for a national championship. At UC, we're going to play for a title. And they put a second back on. Kick is made. Right. I always tell people we matched up way better against Alabama than we did against Florida that year.
Are you joking when you say that?
No, I think Florida just had so many athletes. Like Alabama, we saw it in the college football playoff, more ground and pound, rough up front. But, if you're playing in a national title, you're probably playing with Brian Kelly as the offensive coordinator. And I love Jeff Quinn, but it was just different in the Sugar Bowl. A lot of things, if Texas doesn't make that kick, a lot of things probably change for the future and how the next couple of years went, because you're playing for a national championship game. And I joke about it, but you look at that Florida team. Charlie Strong recruited my brother when my brother was coming out. And Charlie Strong told me, he said, that's the best team I've ever seen or coached. He said that it was unbelievable, the talent they had, and it was different not having your play caller in a game like that.
All right, final thing. We've referred a couple of times to the reunion coming up in week 2 for the 2008 team. Who are you looking forward to seeing? Are there guys that you have had little contact with since?
Yeah, I mean, they've done a really good job with the program of getting the committees together to have communication with a lot of the guys. Like I was such good friends with Haruki and the player that he was, when I was younger. But a guy like a Connor Barwin, Brandon Underwood, again, who I grew up with, D'Angelo Smith, Mike Mickens were on that team. There's, it's a weird bond in football because, I saw this when Travis and Jason brought their podcast. You cannot talk or see someone in years, and you get back together, and there's just this sports bond that's so weird that you just pick up, and all of a sudden you're telling stories that you didn't even know you remembered, and then you see someone and it sparks something, and that to me is the best part about it, because knowing what we were a part of in that year, in those 2 years, and getting everyone back together and to celebrate that is special, because again, you mentioned earlier, this team, they feel like they were the jumping off point for a lot of good things that's happened at the University of Cincinnati, and to get to celebrate those moments with them is awesome.
This has been fun. Thank you for that number 16 Carolina Panthers jersey, and maybe we'll do another episode sometime
Absolutely.
soon.
Thank you.